Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 25, titled The Characteristics of King Puranjana, text 26. Thank you, Prabhu, for writing on the board. Please repeat. Katvam kanja palasakshi Kashya siha kuta sati Imam upapurim biru Kimchikira sasi samsame Katvam kanja palasakshi Kasya siha kuta sati Imam upapurim biru Kimchikirar sasi samsame Katvam kanja palasakshi Kasya siha kutah sati Imam upapurim biru Kimchikir sasi samsame Katvam kanja palasakshi Kimchikir sasi samsame Katvam kanja palasakshi Kasya siha kuta sati Imam upapurim biru Kimchikir sasi samsame Katvam kanja palasakshi Kasya siha kuta sati Imam upapurim biru Kimchikir sasi samsame Katvam kanja palasakshi Kasya siha kuta sati Imam upapurim biru Kimchikir sasi samsame. Thank you. Word to word. Ka, who, tvam, you. Kanja palasha, like the petals of the lotus. Aksi, eyes. Kashya, whose. Asi, you are. Iha, here. Kutaha, where from. Sati, O chaste one. Imam, this. Upa, near. Purim, city. Biru, O timid one. Kim, what? Chikir sasi, you are trying to do. Samsa, kindly explain. Me, unto me. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. My dear lotus-eyed, kindly explain to me where you are coming from, who you are, and whose daughter you are. You appear very chaste. What is the purpose of your coming here? What are you trying to do? Please explain all these things to me. Purport. The first aphorism in the Vedanta Sutra is Athato Brahma Jidnyasa. In human form of life, one should put many questions to himself and to his intelligence. In the various forms of life lower than human life, the intelligence does not go beyond the range of life's primary necessities, namely eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Dogs, cats, and tigers are always busy trying to find something to eat or a place to sleep, trying to defend and have sexual intercourse successfully. In the human form of life, however, one should be intelligent enough to ask what he is, why he has come into the world, what his duty is, who is the supreme controller, what is the difference between dull matter and the living entity, etc. There are so many questions, and the person who is actually intelligent should simply inquire about the supreme source of everything, Athato Brahma Jitnasa. A living entity is always connected with a certain amount of intelligence. But in the human form of life, the living entity must inquire about his spiritual identity. This is real human intelligence. It is said that one who is simply conscious of the body is no better than an animal, even though he be in the human form. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, verse 15, Sri Krishna says, Sarvasya chaham hridi sanvisto mata smritir jnanam apohanam cha. I'm seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. In the animal form, the living entity is completely forgetful of this relationship with God. This is called apohanam, or forgetfulness. In the human form of life, however, consciousness is more greatly developed, and consequently the human being has a chance to understand his relationship with God. In the human form, one should utilize his intelligence by asking all these questions, just as Puranjana, the living entity, is asking the unknown girl where she has come from, what her business is, why is she present, etc. These are inquiries about Atma Tattva, self-realization. The conclusion is that unless a living entity is inquisitive about self-realization, he is nothing but an animal. Do the Mangalacharan. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakkamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Tam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahaganar Shri Vishakham Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyacha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for coming for the Saturday morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. And I was reminded last time that there are viewers online who are streaming from various social media platforms. So I'm acknowledging and thanking them and welcoming them also to this morning's Bhagavatam class. I'll read the translation once again. My dear lotus-eyed, kindly explain to me where you're coming from, who you are, and whose daughter you are. You appear very chaste. What is the purpose of your coming here? What are you trying to do? Please explain all these things to me. So I won't go too much into the detail, but we know how Puranjana, who is essentially all of us, the living entity, is looking for a beautiful city to reside in, city with 9 gates, which is this body. And then he reaches the city and finds this very beautiful woman who he finds very attractive. The descriptions of that woman is given in the past couple of verses. And now he's trying to question her, who she is. Who is this beautiful woman? Intelligence. So essentially he's asking questions to himself, which is what Prabhupada is saying. As human beings, because we are given this human form, we should all be doing, questioning. Athato Brahma Jidnyasa. Jidnyasa is a query. Athato Brahma is inquiring about answers pertaining to self-realization. So Prabhupada opens the purport with this. And he says that we should always have lots of questions and not mundane, random questions. They have to be intelligent questions which are going to serve the purpose of self-realization, which is essentially trying to find out more about yourself, who you are. You know how in interviews they ask you, tell us a little bit about yourself, and it's so easy for us to answer, oh, I'm so-and-so, I've studied so-and-so, I worked so-and-so. But then just imagine if a sadhu or your spiritual master asks you this question, who are you? What do you answer? I mean, he knows everything about you, but he's still asking you who you are. So we should be asking ourselves, and we should be endeavoring to look for answers that give us this knowledge about self-realization, Atma Tattva, who we are. And where do we go then to find these answers? ChatGPT, Gemini? No? Yeah. In fact, very recently I just found out that even ChatGPT is self-doubting because it's got a footnote which says that anything that ChatGPT says might be incorrect. So I don't know if it has always been there, but look, even ChatGPT is self-doubting. So where do we go? What is the source of truth for us to know these answers? So it's Guru, Sadhu and Shastras. We all know that. So we go seek a bona fide spiritual master, our Guru Maharaj, who helps us answer these questions about ourselves. I mean, who knows us better than our Guru and, of course, Gopinath? Even we don't know ourselves. So we seek a spiritual master and go and try to find these answers from a spiritual master. Now, again, when you approach a spiritual master, what are the kind of questions you should be asking? To my earlier point, they have to be intelligent questions which are, befitting a spiritual master. You don't go to your Guru Maharaj and ask, which stock should I invest in? What property should I be buying next? Which car should I be getting next? No, those are not questions for your spiritual master. You should be asking intelligent questions about yourself in an endeavor to help you find yourself. And then, of course, we, Sadhu Sangha, we associate with devotees who also help us find answers to a lot of these questions that we struggle with. And then they could also be in the form of our sadhana about a devotional service. They are also questions or answers which are eventually leading us closer to Krishna. So those are also, they might seem mundane on a very material level, like, oh, how do I, which color combination and garland should I make? That's a very mundane question. But then if you really dovetail that into Krishna's service, you're making that garland, you want to make that garland as beautiful as possible just so that you can decorate the deities nicely. So somewhere it is not a very, very regular question. And of course we have Shastras. I mean, Srimad Bhagavatam is the encyclopedia, as we say, right? That's our selling point. All your answers are in Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita. So Guru, Sadhu and Shastras. Now, interestingly, when I spoke about the kind of questions you should be asking a spiritual master, there's actually a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 5, where Sutta Goswami is actually describing the qualifications of a good question that we should be asking. Apologies, I'm not good at memorizing shlokas, but thank you to Vijayaraj Prabhu. He's not here. He asked a very intelligent question to Ed Prabhu the other day in the Bhagavatam class about memorizing verses. So that's how intelligent questions benefit not just one but everyone. So the three criteria that Sutta Goswami describes in this verse. I'll just read out the verse first. Munaya sadhu prishto aham bhavad bhir lokamangalam yat krita krishna samprashno yenatma suprasidati. Which means, O sages, you have asked a most excellent question for the welfare of all people. By inquiring about Krishna, the supreme truth, the soul becomes satisfied. So here there are three criteria which Sutta Goswami is given. First, the question has to be related to Krishna. It says Krishna samprashno. So every time you ask a devotee or any advanced devotee about Krishna, it gives them pleasure. I was hearing in one of the classes in Srimad Bhagavatam, every time a devotee is posing questions about Krishna to the orator, they are so grateful and they're so happy and pleased that, oh, thank you for asking me this question. It gives me great delight to answer, because it gives the speaker immense pleasure to speak about Krishna. He's getting a chance to speak about Krishna. So that's the first criteria. The question has to be related to Krishna. The second criteria is lokamangalam. It has to be for the benefit, universal benefit. You don't go and ask questions for your own selfish purposes or reasons. Again, like the mundane example which I gave, which house should I buy, which car should I buy? No, you have to ask questions which are benefiting to everyone around you. So if you've noticed, sometimes in classes, in Bhagavatam classes, or even when Maharajas give lectures, and they ask naturally after the class any questions, and you will find sometimes very, very senior devotees asking very, very basic questions. I mean, initially I was like, if he doesn't know it, how am I supposed to know? But then I spoke and I was told that they ask these questions for the benefit of everyone in the class. Not everyone is on the same level. Some could be just starting their Krishna consciousness. Some are very, very elevated. So just for the benefit of everyone, they asked these questions. So that made a lot of sense to me. So that is what Sutta Goswami is also describing here as universal benefit or lokamangalam. So you ask questions, and that's exactly what the sages in Naimisharanya have asked. The 6 fundamental questions which form the basis of Srimad Bhagavatam are all, you'll find those 6 questions, we'll talk about them a little later. They encompass all these 3 criteria. They're asking about Krishna, they're asking questions for the welfare of the entire humanity, and the third point is it has to be satisfying to the soul. So whatever you're asking should naturally give you some satisfaction, you as in not the material body, you but the soul, because that's what the soul, that's what the Atma is after. It's after the truth. And when you ask questions which give you the truth, naturally you're doing a self-service by pleasing your Atma and eventually satisfying your queries. So those are the 3 criteria as described about how questions should be. So whenever you go to Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, we have to be mindful of these 3 things when we are asking questions. And then that brings us to the next point as to how do we ask questions. We don't ask questions in a condescending tone. Hey, tell me. No, that's not how our mood should be. If we genuinely want to know, we have to be very, very humble. And we have to go in a very, very submissive mood. That's also described, I think, in one of the earlier verses, how the mood of the devotee should be. It's also mentioned, the description in Chaitanya Charitamrita also about how the mood of someone who's asking questions should be. One example that came to my mind is when Lord Hanuman first met Lord Rama, when Sugriv sent Hanuman to inquire about those 2 beautiful, handsome boys wandering in the forest at that time. He told Hanuman, why don't you go and find out who they are? Hanuman could have very easily gone in his form. Again, he had Ashtasiddhis. He could have just gone like a big, tall creature, appeared in front of Rama and Lakshmana and summoned them and asked them who you are, what business do you have here? But no, he went dressed as a Brahmana. He went dressed as a Vipra. And in a very, very humble mood, he started inquiring about who you are, what are you doing, Kim Prayojana? What is your objective of coming to this forest? He did not go and threaten them, hey, this is our territory. You shouldn't be here. But no, he was very, very submissive, very, very humble. That should be our mood every time we ask questions. There's also descriptions in Chaitanya Charitamrita where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has had extensive dialogues, and he's given us instructions exactly on having these question and answer sessions for our spiritual advancement. And that's called Ishtagoshti. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's described as it is Ishtagoshti. We all have Ishtagoshtis within our God families where we're supposed to be discussing our spiritual masters. But if you think about it, what is Ishtagoshti? It's mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Ishta is someone who is supreme, who's worshipable to you, and Goshti is a discussion. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually brought about this, and he actually instructed and guided all the devotees to hold these kind of discussions where they have these question answers for the spiritual advancement of everyone. Also, when Sanatana Goswami approached Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to ask about himself, to ask about Kayami, who am I? What am I doing? What business do I have? And to my earlier point, he went there and surrendered, and it said that he went and surrendered as a street beggar in front of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just to get that knowledge and get that mercy from Mahaprabhu about essentially knowledge about his own self. Also, there are extensive dialogues with Ramanand Rai in Chaitanya Charitamrita where they explore bhakti, where they discuss Krishna consciousness. So that's how important these sessions, these question-answer sessions, these discussions are for our spiritual advancement, for our bhakti, for our growth. There's an interesting story. He was asking for a story. So once there was a tigress who was hunting in a herd of. She was essentially trying to hunt a flock of sheep, and she got injured or whatever. She died, but she gave birth to a tiger cub. And the tiger cub was naturally raised by the sheep. They got him home with them and started raising them like a sheep. So he looked like a tiger, but he was raised as a sheep. He started bleating like a sheep, eating grass and doing all sorts of things. And then one day, as they were grazing through the pastures, a wise old tiger happened to pass by. And then he sees this tiger cub, and he says, hey, just come with me. He takes him to a river and shows him his own reflection in the river, the tiger cub. And then he tells the tiger cub, look at you and look at me. We are supposed to be tigers. You're not a sheep. You're supposed to roar, not bleat. You're a carnivore, not a herbivore. So he introduces the tiger cub to himself. And that's when he realizes, I was just following the herd. The herd mentality, what they call. We all want to do what everybody else is doing without knowing, without understanding what our true identity is, who we really are, and what our true motive, mission, and aspiration should be. So from this story, we can see that we're all tiger cubs. We're all cubs of Sri Sri Radha Gopinath. But we are so ignorant that we need a wise old tiger, Singha, spiritual master, to come and show us our own reflection in the river, which is nothing but the Shastras. We are so incapable. Even, has the tiger cub not gone to the river to drink water before this? Of course he has. He's seen his reflection. But he did not realize his true identity till a spiritual master actually guided him and showed him and made him aware of who he really is. So that's how important having a spiritual master and inquiring from them and getting this knowledge from them about who we are and about our identity. And then Prabhupada, because here in one section, Prabhupada also says that the conclusion is that unless a living entity is inquisitive about self-realization, he's nothing but an animal. So he is comparing anybody who is ignorant to oneself to an animal. But then again, we're ignorant. Why? Because of forgetfulness. And here Prabhupada is also saying this forgetfulness also comes from Gopinath. It's interesting, in my last class I got this verse, and we were talking about Krishna giving forgetfulness and remembrance, and then it's come up again. We're all ignorant, we're all forgetful. Why we shouldn't even be comparing. But why just us? Arjuna, the great Arjuna, who is Krishna's Sakha, friend, he got forgetful. He became ignorant on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Where did this forgetfulness come from? Perhaps Gopinath's Leela. If he wasn't forgetful, if he didn't forget who he was, if he didn't forget that he was a Kshatriya and he's supposed to fight, we wouldn't have gotten the Bhagavad Gita. We all know that. So even Arjuna fell prey to this forgetfulness, which Prabhupada is mentioning here, apohanam. And then he started asking Krishna all these questions, which are again not mundane, regular questions about how should I fight, how should I, what the strategy should be for the war, and who should I kill first. No, those were not the questions he was asking Krishna. He's asking him questions about Atma Tattva. What am I doing? Why am I feeling like this? Then he even goes on to ask, after Krishna explains, he even goes on to ask that, okay, after I've reached that level of devotion, what should the symptoms be? How do I know I've become a devotee? Those questions where he is asking about how should a self-realized man walk, talk, what are the symptoms and all of that. In fact, Bhagavad Gita starts with a question asked by Dhritarashtra to Sanjaya. Again, Kim, what are the Pandavas and my sons Kauravas doing? And then Sanjaya starts narrating. Do we know how many questions in all Arjuna has asked Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita? He spoke 84 verses. Arjuna spoke 84 verses. Anyways, how many questions has Arjuna asked Krishna? 16. There are 16 questions in all which Arjuna have asked Krishna, which are again giving us the essence of all the Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Sankhya Yoga. It's all encompassed in those 16 questions. Just like the sages have asked Sutta Goswami 6 questions. So the entire Bhagavatam, the 18,000 verses of the Bhagavatam are based on the 6 questions. Shall we revise what the 6 questions are? Can anyone? No, so the entire Bhagavatam is based on 6 fundamental questions. So it's not related to a particular topic, or it's not related to a particular devotee asking. It's the sages, whoever is present, they're asking, and then through those questions, through elaborations and narrations as answers to those questions, we got the whole Srimad Bhagavatam as we see it today. So do we know what the 6 questions are? That's one, yes. No chat GPT, please. Yes, thank you, Mataji. Somebody else now. Okay, I need to find. Yes. Okay, yes. So you spoke about what's the essence of all scriptures, yes? And then you also said, where has Dharma gone now that Krishna has left earth? And then maybe that's related to what is the ultimate good for all people. Let's give it to you. And then 2 more. Yes. And then what are the avatars, who are his avatars? And then we also have what are the acts performed by Lord Krishna. So these questions, I'll just spell out these questions so it's easy for us to understand. So what is the ultimate good for all people, which is tied to the point of Lokamangalam. So all these questions are answering questions about universal benefit, how what we learn and what we hear is going to benefit the entire mankind or humankind. Then what is the essence of religious scriptures? Why should we reading? That again it's about, again, satisfying the soul and for universal benefit. You can put it across that way. Then why did Lord Krishna appear in the womb of Mother Devaki? That's the whole pastime, and where they're narrating Lord Krishna's appearance and glorifying Mother Devaki. What are the acts performed by the Lord? That's where all his leelas and all his heroic activities are narrated. And who are his avatars? Then the Bhagavatam will then talk about all the avatars that the Krishna avatars, and not just the Dashavatars, then also the Rashaktavesha avatars and all the others. So there's an elaborate description of that. And then it also answers where has Dharma gone now that Krishna has left this earth. So that's the onset of Kali Yuga, which is the later part where Parikshit Maharaj then does whatever he does and then gets narrated the Bhagavatam. So these 6 questions answered in different cantos, in different verses, asked by different personalities and different sages, and answered by Sutta Goswami, and in some cases answered by other devotees, form the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's simplified, all the 18,000 verses condensed in these 6 questions. So again, from here also we see, going back to our first point, all these questions are not random, they're not related. Not random and not unrelated to the 3 criteria that were listed. They are asking about Krishna, so naturally the speaker is getting immense pleasure. They're asking questions which are for the benefit of the entire humanity, Lokamangalam, and they're asking questions which are eventually satisfying the soul. Because there are also questions, and then there are also narrations about geography and cosmic planets and whatnot. So it is the encyclopedia. So we read, that's where we go after Guru, Sadhu, and then we go to Bhagavatam for all these answers. Talking about questions, in Mahabharata there is also what we know as, there's this episode where we know the Pandavas are in the forest, they are in exile. And there was this one time when they are helping a Brahmin restart his fire tools. And naturally they get tired. So that's one version. The other version is they are wandering through the forest and Queen Draupadi feels thirsty. Again, please seek answers. Go to the books or ask around to see which version is the right one. But point being, they get thirsty. And Yudhishthira Maharaj then asks them to go find water for them to drink because they're so thirsty. And he first sends Nakula. He looks around and comes across a river, goes to the river, but just about, he thought to himself, let me first drink water and then I'll bring it back to my brothers and my wife, Queen Draupadi. And even in airplanes they say, right, before helping others, help yourself with the oxygen masks. So he decided to drink. Just as he was about to drink the water, there was a voice that echoed through the forest. That voice was Yaksha. Yaksha was Yamaraj, the god of Dharma in disguise. And he told Nakula that you can drink water, you can take water from this river, but you have to answer some questions that I have for you. If you're able to successfully answer the questions and satisfy me, then you're free to take water. But Nakula is like, I'm probably just either hallucinating or I'm just getting bewildered because of my thirst and hunger. So he ignored, drank the water and died. The rest of the Pandavas kept waiting and waiting and waiting. Then Yudhishthira and Sahadev, same thing, reaches, hears a voice, ignores it, drinks the water, dies. And the rest of them will look, what's going on? Bhima's like, I will take care. Nothing can happen to me. Bhima goes. Same thing. Arjuna, same thing. And then finally, Maharaj Yudhishthira reaches the river, sees his brothers lying dead, again hears the same voice, but he's Dharmaraj, he's Yudhishthira, he's patience personified. He says, okay, you ask me, I will answer. And then Yaksha asks him these, again, fundamental questions about all sorts of things, not mundane, related to spiritual advancement. Maharaj Yudhishthira answers them correctly, satisfies the yaksha, satisfies yaksha's soul, allowed to drink water, and then in fact it is said that yaksha gets so pleased with him, he asks him for a boon, and he says, you can ask to revive any of our brothers. Do you know who he revives? Sorry? Nakula, yes. So that's also interesting. Coming back to the questions. Shall we do another round? Rapid fire? Oh, come on. We have to wake up on a Saturday morning and get ready for breakfast now. So in all, we know how many questions Yaksha asked. Oh, a little bit more? A little bit more? That's too much. 125. But we won't go through all 125 questions. We'll just go through the famous 6. Okay. What is heavier than the earth? Okay. And once you've answered, now please let others. What is higher than the heavens or the sky? Sorry? Father's soul. Okay, Father. What is swifter than the mind? Yesterday or day before, somebody is mentioning this in the Bhagavatam class, if you were paying attention. Was it you? Or Prabhu is giving an example of how we are here right now, but if we want to be in some place, our thoughts or mind, that's swifter than the wind. So it transports us, transmigrates us from anywhere. We could be sitting here but having prasadam right now. That's how fast our mind is. What is numerous than the grass? Not hair on the body, please, no. Sorry? Lies? It desires our thoughts. Yay. What stays after death? Huh? Dharma, righteousness. Yeah. What is the true path? It's not moksha. No. The one that is trodden by the Mahajanas. And the very famous, everybody should know this. What is the greatest wonder? That's like they've used it so many times in so many Bhagavatam classes. So the answer to that, so the last one is, we see death around us all the time. Our friends, family, relatives, everybody dies. But somehow we always believe that, it's not going to happen to me, I'm invincible. And that's the greatest wonder. And Yaksha is very, very satisfied. So you see, even these questions, they might seem very, very mundane on the surface level. What is heavier than the earth? What sort of a question is that? But then when you dig deeper, and when you read and meditate on the answers that King Yudhishthira gave, it's got very, very deep meanings, which then gives us answers to, at some level, our own identity or self-realization. So these are the 125 questions, and again, they are for the benefit of everyone. We all benefit when we meditate on these answers, and then that pleased Yaksha a lot, and then we know, then Mahabharata continued on as is. So these are again all leelas. Otherwise, come on, it would have ended there, right there and then in the exile. There's also a very famous quote by, I think it was Albert Einstein, and he said that if I had 1 hour to live, and if I had 1 hour to solve a question or a problem, and my life depended on that question or that problem, I would spend 55 minutes asking questions about that problem. No? Doesn't make sense. Yeah. That's how important it is to question and to inquire. Because from what I understand from that quote is, if you don't question the problem, you'll never find the solution. And that's what we all should be doing. We don't even know what the problem is. We have a good life, we have food on the table, we have great clothes to wear, a cozy bed to sleep, we have a roof on top of our heads, we have a healthy bank balance, life is good. But that is the problem. And we should be questioning, and that's what Prabhupada is saying in this purport here, that we should be questioning what is the problem. Only then will we endeavor to find answers to the problem and reach self-realization, and then be able to go back home, back to Krishna. Krishna is there, he's willing to accept us the way we are, but is that why he sent us here? We can live like a tiger cub with the herd, do exactly what everybody else does. But he's cherry-picked, hand-picked us to be here in association of devotees. He's blessed us with such a wonderful spiritual master. And for those who will eventually have spiritual masters, Prabhupada has been kind enough to give us all these shastras. For what? To find answers to that very problem that we think is not a problem at all. So with that, food for thought, I'll end this class. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Antakoti Vaishnav Vrinda ki. Any questions, comments, suggestions, feedbacks? No tough questions, please. I was having this. We were having this meeting for a preaching program, and Kanasham Prabhu just took us through everything, and then ended up asking him like a very, very basic question, and he said, they have some saying in Tamil. I'm sure Kamsara Prabhu would know, where somebody hears the Ramayana, and then ends up asking who's Sita or who's Ravana, and then it's like oh Ravana, I think Ravana was Sita's uncle, something like that. So. Prabhu, please, when you find out what is life, please enlighten us as well. Yeah. Anything else? All right. Thank you then. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.